Even just this little design choice here where they have like the name of the community manager, to me, it kind of centers the community around one personality rather than inviting other people to become experts and contributors and leaders in the community. Welcome to Community Dissection, where we dissect online communities to give you an inside look at community design, architecture, and evolution. Let's dive in. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Community Dissection. We are dissecting the professional community leaders community hosted in Guild today. And I'm joined by Tim McDonald. Tim is back for another episode with a brand new liver.
Yes,
Tim, you want to say hi and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, thank you for having me again, Bri. I'm Tim McDonald. I have 15 years plus in the community industry, everything from nonprofits to B2B to B2C, software, consumer product goods, everything. So pretty well-rounded, and currently working on starting a nonprofit for helping other people pursuing living liver donor transplants, because that's what I just received, as Bri mentioned, with my new liver. And mine was specific to having stage 4 colorectal cancer that I was given 3 years to live 2.5 years ago. So here we are with a new lease on life, as I like to say.
Woo! So glad you're still alive. If your website's ready when we publish this, we'll include the link in the show notes. That would be awesome to be able to point people in that direction. Let's dive right in. So I'm really excited. We've never dissected a community that's hosted in Guild, and I've really wanted to dive into this. So I'm glad Tim is here. Tim, prior to this episode, did not belong in the Guild. He had not joined Guild, so he has fresh eyes. I've been a part of this community for a couple of years, and there's a couple other community professionals that rub shoulders in here consistently. And so I'll definitely tag them in the post because I want to hear their feedback on this episode. But this is what the community looks like. When you first join, this is kind of the center spread. But I wanted to talk a little bit about how we found this community. So I'll talk about how I found this community. I heard about Guild as a community platform. So when I first joined, I came to the Guild page and I joined Guild. That is the thing that I joined. And then from there, it led me to discover different groups. So as a community professional, I found this professional community leaders. I was like, oh, that sounds like me. So I joined any that kind of had to do with community because I was just curious about what people were talking about, who was in here. So right off the bat, and I think we'll be teasing this out throughout the episode from several different angles, but something to know about this platform is that the general sense to me is that you're joining the platform first and foremost, and within that platform, you're able to discover different groups, which is different than my traditional experience with communities is usually you're joining the community experience. And that's a pretty that is the focus, and kind of the intimacy of the experience is more that you're joining an exclusive space. Now, these are exclusive spaces. You have to request to join them, but it seems design wise, the center focus of this whole layout is more about the discoverability that you get when you list your community here. It's almost it gives me the vibe of it kind of feels like Slack, but instead of the Slack, you have to join that workspace. And that usually happens in a whole different funnel. There's no discoverability of look at all of the other Slack workspaces you could join. So just something to know about the layout here. And I personally, when I first joined, I didn't like that experience as much as a community builder. I was like, oh, this feels like social media. This feels like you're catering to an audience. This feels like you're trying to help these communal spaces build and grow their audience and kind of distract people into your content. This whole bar here takes up so much real estate. All of the different groups that you could belong to to me, I'm wow, that takes up quite a bit of space on this page. And so it tells me I would rather focus on what's happening here directly in the community rather than bouncing between all the groups. So it's not wrong. It's just different. I don't prefer it personally. I'd rather focus on the quality of the community experience. But Tim, I've just kind of gone off right into my soapbox. Tell me your thoughts.
Well,
Push back.
Obviously I've heard of Guild before, but I really didn't know too much about it. And so right before we started recording, when you asked if I could just join it, I was kind of thinking the same thing. I'm like, where am I going? What type of community is Guild? And then as I'm getting in here and you showed me how to discover and search for that one community, it was like, well, why couldn't you just given me a link to join? Because almost every client that I work with, one of the first questions during our initial, strategy call is really like, how do I make this, white labeled for our brand?
Yeah.
Whether it's Mighty Network, Circle, whatever, it's like, how do I make it so that mine is xyz.com,
Yes, definitely. I missed this until this exact moment when you're saying it. Invite to group is available here. So it does look like so this is kind of a landing page that is created for this group. So it does look like you can join directly, which wouldn't be surprising to me that you can join directly into a specific group on Guild. But even still, the design is it very much lends itself to like, now find other groups like this. This to me is just like this is kind of the primary, like this is where my eye is really attracted to. I don't know if maybe that's just me, but yeah.
Yeah, we get you in here now, and you might have come for one specific reason, but we want you to help, find others that might pique your interest and join those, which to me is more about the platform than the specific community.
Yes. And it's more about the network than it is the community is another like way I would describe it. Yep. I think we're aligned on that, which again, isn't necessarily bad. Like I think we need more social networks that are community focused and that have a community lens. But it was something that I had to get used to, and I had to recognize like, this is different from what I'm used to building in. So I'm going to keep kind of moving the tour forward. I'm just going to click around a little bit. And Tim, I'd love to hear like, what's one thing you love, one thing you would modify, and tell me if you want me to click into anything or like rabbit trail anywhere in the community. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just requested to join, so I haven't been accepted yet. Yeah. So I'll have to follow your screen. I'll tell you my initial impression, even on my screen, was that the founder of Guild is the one who created this community. Mm-hmm. And to me, I'm not sure, just right off the bat, like, how much I feel like this is going to be a true community or if I'm going to be marketed to. Mm-hmm. That's my initial impression, even before we started talking about anything. When I got into I can see the group now, and it's like, is it really going to be what I kind of want to be interested in, or, am I going to find this in other places? So that's a thing. And then as I'm looking at your screen, I'm like kind of looking, and it's like, okay, am I going to be able to click like to see other members in the group, up at the top there? Or is that just telling me how many people are in there? That would be interesting to me.
Yes. Okay. So I want to touch on that because this is another like platform design choice that they made that I think lends it again to what we've been saying. So we have this left-hand toolbar, and this is like, so my network is any members who I have like, I guess, connected with like directly, but it's for all of the spaces. So these like groups, direct messages, notifications, invites received, all of these are like, they're for all of the possible groups that I belong to, not within like each individual community. So again, it's like, this is a really distinct design choice from the Guild team to say, like, we're building a network of people. Within this network, you can find these like micro communities, but it feels like the focus is on the network to me, which again isn't necessarily bad. I just
noticed the connection there, I think, is because like I got a direct message, right? And it was probably automated from when I joined, and it was from Team Guild. And now when I look at my contacts, right, or my network, as they call it, Team Guild is in there. They're my one connection.
Okay, but what's interesting is that like I have other direct messages here, but these people did not show up in my network. So I'm curious like how people get into my network. It's like
Right.
if the whole focus is my network is actually the smallest thing, like the least amount of things that's happening in this experience. But yeah, that's a really great. I know. I'm curious. Let's go back to groups because I want to see like how would I group info? Okay, this is like that. Oh, this is probably that same landing page. I bet. Purpose of the community is that similar? Oh, no, this is different. This is more like a little bit of a welcome series. Okay, DM Ashley. Okay, here I can access different profiles. Direct message, connect. Let's just see what happens. Oh, connection message. Okay, interesting. So yeah, I'll keep clicking around in here, but that was I did want to note this like sidebar over here, which seems like it's like this bigger umbrella over all of my groups, but then we move into this group and this group feed. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts here, Tim, on this layout, but basically each of these is like, so we have pinned posts up here. And then each of these is like its own thread where people come in and post consistently, it looks like. And there's lots of great activity happening in here. Like, I'm curious, I guess, is there any way for me to see how many posts? Like, it's really active, which is awesome. It's definitely a marketplace for like other community leaders to come and like tout themselves. Like, I've noticed too, like when I went through the conversations, there's like a lot of people from CMX and like community club, like other people, like there's a lot of exchange of like events and conversation and like, you know, reports that come out. So it definitely is like this hub for activity. What is confusing to me, I'll just say it right off the bat. This UX is very confusing to me with all the different threads, but then like it's like a feed, like you have people joining in here. It's in chronological order. Okay, there's 10 comments here. That's helpful to see.
And I think that's going to be specific for you, that because I noticed that you had 10 unread when you got in there, and that was a note on there. So if you look at every one of these comments and go back to that feed page, you're probably not going to see a red 10 on there anymore.
Let me see. Yes. So now it's like grayed out if I've clicked on it already. I would almost like to, I don't like that 10 goes away. Like, I'd love to just see like a consistent, like maybe if you haven't read it yet, it's okay. So they're communicating that I haven't read it yet twice with like the number of like comments. Or what's really confusing to me is like each of these posts, it just like, it seems like it's a post and then there's like other posts inside. It doesn't quite, it's like, it's supposed to be like a post with comments, but the design of it just makes it feel like it's a post with like then lots of other posts. And there's sometimes where they take advantage of that format. Like up here, they're like, post all of your events here. And each of these feels like a different post. Oops. But then when you come into like this one, for example, it's like, no, this is the post. These are all comments, but they just, I don't know. Like, I'm struggling to articulate what bothers me about this so much. But
well, it's like you get confused from the feed into the actual thread of the post, right? Or the event, or, you know, and then how am I going back and where does this comment fall? Does this show up in the feed or, you know?
Yes. And it's almost like, okay, so with this one, it's like when I clicked into this one, what should have happened is it should have taken me directly to the first post, right? Because that's where I need to start. When I click into this, that's where I need to start. For these other, like, that's a post. These are like feeds. So this should like put me here at what was the most recent event that got posted. And so, but it's this weird combination of like, they're using it functionally as like post and feed that it's too confusing for me personally. What's also like, they're indicating to me, hey, you read this already, like you clicked into this, but why not just keep on the right-hand side here, still show me how many posts are involved. Like, you don't need to take that away like you can still notify me here that like put it in bold so I know I haven't clicked on it yet. But then I still want to see like I clicked on it already, but I still love to remember like which of these posts were really popular.
Yeah, I think there's that whole thing of, yes, I might want to know my unreads, but you're kind of already having an unread by the fact that it's bolded, right? And not grayed out. And so you already know that. So why not just show me how many comments or how many, I guess it would be comments that you'd be counting in response to that post are in the thread. And I've seen that on a lot of other platforms because instead of just having pinned posts, you can have most popular posts,
If you're enjoying our community dissection episodes and have a community of your own, then I invite you to download our community audit checklist. This is a quick list of things that you can go through and identify in your community that you have, are missing, or might need to be clarified. So don't wait today to improve your own community. And if you're interested in having your community dissected by me and a couple other community professionals, you can nominate your community through the form in the description.
And I was just looking here to see like maybe there is like a comment or like some sort of like button down here, but it really is just like, and they just call it a message. Like that's just so confusing to me. Message to me says like direct message. Like it's the language and the format is just like, it's kind of killing me here. And I'm like, oh, it's such a good, like it's not all bad. Like I'm not trying to really harp here, and Guild team, like, please forgive me. I'm not trying to like really just bash on you or anything, because there's so much good stuff here. I'm just like, but there's some UX tweaks that if they happened would make it so much more clear and accessible for me.
Yeah, I think it's just that it's not that it's the platform itself is bad in any way. It's just like the little things that make it from a user perspective so much friendlier and easier to use.
Yes. Yep. I'm glad we got to dive into some of those. I do love, so more recently, I think when I last was in here, they didn't have these pinned posts yet. And so it was just like this constant, like massive feed that like, I'm just like, oh man, like, I don't know how to go to anywhere for anything. Cause I can't, like, I have to read through all of these titles to find like what I'm looking for. Like if there was tags or if there were like subgroups to say like, I don't know, to kind of break things up a little bit. They kind of did that with the pin posts. So at least we have like, okay, intros. This is like a feed for introductions. Mm-hmm. Again, that difference between like feeds and like posts. So that's great. I love that introduction or that new addition, a jobs thread. So it's like they're starting to kind of sort things so it's easier to find. But overall, I think just having like one kind of massive space, like both for posts and for feeds, as we've like talked about, is just a little bit overwhelming for me and not easy to find. If I'm looking for something specific, it would be really difficult for me to find it. I can just browse and kind of like, I use these numbers here on the right-hand side to say like, okay, this looks pretty popular. Let's dive into this.
I think while you're there, where are the three dots on the right?
Oh, good question. Follow, copy link, mark all as read, report as inappropriate. Okay.
So I guess if you followed it, even if you didn't comment on it, you could get updates as they were coming in as far as notifications went. Copy link maybe to share it in another thread or community or social media, I guess, maybe.
Oh my God, this is funny. We need to ban the word lurker. Tim, that's perfect for us. Sorry, Tim. I got so distracted on that. My question is, what is the behavior that they are hoping that I will take? Because this mark all as read makes me think like, do they want / expect me to like click into every post and read? Is the goal that I have no like notifications here and that everything is being marked as read? That just seems...
I got to tell you, I actually like that.
You do? Okay, tell me more.
Because the one thing on Slack that I hate is like when it says you have 36 unreads, you actually need to scroll up to the last unread and scroll back to the bottom before that goes away. I am kind of OCD with my notifications and I hate seeing them there. So for me, marking as all as read is like so nice.
Yes. Okay. So I do agree with that, but you would have to mark all as read for every single post here. Wait,
right. And I think there should be an overall one for every thread that exists.
Yeah. That makes more sense to me. I don't think you need it per post.
Although some posts,
like
if you get up to like 115 or, even 42 or whatever.
Yes, true.
So I don't think it's a bad thing per post, but I do overall think you should just be able to, eliminate all or mark all as read.
Yes, I have the same OCD problem.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you if we could look at the other tabs up there, the events, the featured, and the resources, just to see what's up there.
Yes. These are all past events. Doesn't look like they have anything coming up, but let's go to conversation. Okay, now you can talk about this event. Go to event info. Okay, go to conversation. Okay, so I can type something. I would say like love this event or something like that. I don't really know. But okay.
It was before looking forward to this, or is there a recording of
it? Yes. Yeah, actually, that's a good. Is there a recording of this? Featured. So this is different than the group feed and pinned. Featured is like, I guess they pull posts or feeds into here. So I'm curious the difference between featured and pinned posts, like how you would functionally use those differently.
Yeah, that's kind of the first thing, because I think most of us, or at least I do, tend to think of both of those terms kind of meaning the same thing, And what I'm also not sure about this is like I think I mentioned right when we came in, is the first thing I noticed was this was started by the founder of Guild, right? This group. And so if he's the host of this group, right? Am I only seeing things that Guild wants me to see? Or is there somebody from the actual community, other admins in the community, that are actually in here resurfacing what they think their peers would be looking for, not what the company is looking for?
Yes. Yep. 100%. And Guild has really, like, I've noticed about the Guild team, they've put in a lot of work to establish themselves as thought leaders in the community space. So there is like they have a lot of like publications, reports, I don't know if interviews, but they have a lot of like content coming out. But you're right in that it can feel fairly promotional versus like, and even just this little design choice here where they have like the name of the community manager in the group. Mm-hmm. It really, to me, it kind of centers the community around one personality rather than creating, like, inviting other people to become these like experts and contributors and leaders in the community. I would be curious, like, what leadership has popped up in this space. Like, there's lots of like people like us and consultants like me who like come in here to advertise their stuff. But I'm curious, like, I think a really good and healthy community also establishes leaders within the community space. And so people who are like, yes, I'm going to advertise my stuff here, but I'm like personally invested in like this community specifically. Like, what about this Guild professional community leaders would make someone be like, no, I really want to like invest in this space more than just every other community leader like discussion forum that I have access to.
Yep.
I think this might be new as well, resources. So being able to sort content and even just these sections, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Why don't we have this in group? Like, just give me some, like, I'm like, wow, they really sorted out, like, and maybe they take these honestly from like group feed becomes like the funnel where they get all these resources being contributed and then they sort them here. But I'm like, we could also like the conversation a little bit in group feed, which seems like something a lot of their competitors do as well. And so I was just surprised to not have that organization in group feed, but I love having it here in resources.
Do they actually have other online community platforms? Did I see something down there?
Oh, it's down here.
Directories, list of online communities. Just curious.
Oh.
So it brings you to Hive.
Oh.
That's interesting.
This is great. I'm like, oh, this is great for community dissection. I just have a whole list here.
Well, I just brought it up because I mean, and bravo to them, right? Because too many companies will not share their, some competitors of theirs. And so I'd say bravo for, putting that out there and trying to enhance everybody, but there shouldn't just be probably one company on there.
Yeah. Oh, this is fascinating. Okay. Across various community platforms. And then we list all the social media, not all of them are, but like there's quite a few social media platforms on here, which I would differentiate. I know there's like lots of debate about that. But yeah, I'm really surprised to not see like.
Well, there's browse all 29 platforms.
Okay. So yeah, that's better. Yeah, no, I think that's a really helpful list. I will be using that moving forward. Thank you very much, Guild community. I really appreciate it. Yeah, overall, I think things that just to circle back on what I love, I think Guild is doing something that not many other platforms, I think, are even attempting, which is that cross between audience and community and discoverability. So I applaud them on it. I think it's a good fit for some communities. And clearly there's like a lot of activity happening here. I was like going through this list it seems in this list of groups available to join, it seems very like career work focused communities. So either like communities of practice or like HR communities, or like kind of coming together around one central topic or skill you want to grow or learn. So for that specific type of community or group within Guild, I think it could be beneficial to build in here. I think for all I gave lots of feedback on like what I would adjust, but I think overall they're doing something pretty remarkable here, and I'd love to see them continue to grow and enhance their features.
Yeah, and if you go to the homepage, because I think this is something we should touch on, is they got their pricing model. Or actually, when you're in the community, if you just go to the community there we go. So I think this is pretty interesting to me because it really gets into like what you're able to do, how many members you're going to be able to have in your group, how many moderators you're going to be able to have.
Well, that's awesome. To be able to have a free group for one group, one admin, 200 members.
And then I'm just trying to look and see like, where it becomes your actual community instead of it being a Guild group,
Yes. Almost like where you could get rid of this, like my groups and this whole like bar. Maybe it's like a little tiny bar over here that's like, take me to other Guild groups, but it's not the primary.
Well, I guess in the $60 a month, it picks up with custom branding.
Okay,
I don't know how white label that is, but at least it gives you some flexibility in, being able to modify your community to look and feel a little bit more like your brand.
It's interesting. I wish I had joined like another community here. Let's just see if I can get into something else, because even if I join this community, I feel like I still have the Guild branding over here, but maybe that is all customizable. Like when I click into a new community, all of these colors change too. But it seems like this is Guild's real estate, and you don't get it. You just get this over here. But maybe I'm wrong. And Guild team, if we're off on that, please feel free to comment on this video. Oh, I found Mark all as red. There it is.
Oh.
For the OCD ones like me and Tim, we can rest easy. Okay, and then here I can create a new group. Okay, awesome. Well, Tim, any final remarks or thoughts on this community?
No, I mean, I think, it would be interesting to see, get a little bit more in depth as far as what you get when you start paying, to run, to have your community on there. Because I think if they do have some of those customization and white labeling options, I think it could be great. I think it stands alone now with the free one to be really good for, smaller communities, more niche communities, if you don't go over 200 members and you're running it yourself. Mm-hmm. But I think there's a lot of good promise here. And I think a few tweaks, but it's definitely like a combination of a lot of the, forum and group type of community platforms that we see, and then a little bit of a mix with the social network element to it,
Yeah, definitely. Which for some communities like that is, especially, I guess, if you're creating like a niche community within like the career world or community of practice within career, it seems like this is a good place for you because people are coming into this space maybe for another like semi-related community, and then you could attain more members that way. So could be a good fit for you in that sense. Awesome. Tim, thank you for joining us today. As I like to say at the end of every episode, if Guild team, if you're watching this, we hope you take this episode with the spirit of curiosity and generosity that it is intended. We are community builders. We know just how hard it is to foster these spaces, to launch them, and to create the level of engagement that we see here. I think there's awesome activity happening in this community, and I'm really excited to see Guild continue to evolve as a platform. So thank you for letting us dissect this. And well, we just did anyways. But we'll see you on next episode. Like and subscribe to join for more videos. And thanks again, Tim.